dear Mum. Today is Sunday, which we have off from now on. We have to wash and polish the floor on Sundays, as well as all our gear, so we spend most of our time at this. None of our clothes fit us, but we've been measured for new stuff, which we will get before we leave here. So we're there for 10 weeks initial training. In the meantime, we have to put up with half-masted pants and shirts you could put a small house in. So I was a farm boy, so I was fairly fit, played sport, and I worked physically on the farm. And I could shoot, and been pretty familiar with firearms. And I'd been 5 years in a boarding school, so living with other people in the context of dormitories and whatever, and putting up with dopes was not a new experience to me. It was a big shock to a lot of those people who had lived at home with mum and dad, and a lot of those couldn't tie up their own shoes, let alone iron clothes, and didn't know how to do it. But remarkably, most of them rose to the occasion, and after the 10 weeks initial training, we were all the same. In the 60s, long hair and beards were pretty common with young men, and so when you got to the army, you had to make us all look the same. So your head wasn't shaved off, but down to probably what you describe as a number 3 cut these days, and of course no whiskers on the face at all. That went, so you don't make us look the same. You were referred to by your number rather than your name. So my number was 5715001, and you had to repeat that all the time. In that initial training, you were vaccinated probably against everything known to man at that time. So things like bubonic plague, rabies, cholera, typhus, they're all things we'd never heard of. And the way you did that was a platoon would turn up at the medical orderly's hut and be 30 in a platoon. Everybody take their shirts off, so you just got pants and boots, carry your shirt in your arm. You walked in through the door, hit on both shoulders with a hypodermic, whack something into you, and go another few paces, and somebody else will give you some more, so you might get 3 or 4 shots in one go, and just keep marching, put your shirt back on and go back again. A couple of weeks later, I wrote another letter saying, well, it's Sunday again, so I've got time to write a letter. Sometimes we work on Sunday and have a day off during the week or an afternoon off. So don't worry if my letter is a bit irregular in getting home. The mail can take anything up to a week to get home, or as short as 2 days. We have to starch and iron all our own clothes. Here we have to have 3 sets of clean greens, that's our working clothes, every week, as well as our off-duty clothes. They are really good as they are tailored to fit us. We wear them after 6 at night, and when we go on leave, I'll send over a photograph of myself and we're dressed up in my good clothes. Most of it is marching, polishing, cleaning, and getting you into the idea that when somebody gives you an order, you react and obey that order. So you try to make everybody the same. It's a very flawed process and not terribly effective in my view. There's better ways of doing things than what they were doing. The instructors in basic training were pretty ordinary, even at this distance. The ones in your core training where you're teaching infantry were very good. And when we got to do the jungle training in Canungra in Queensland, they were exceptional. So there's a whole levels of these people. Look, the whole idea is to break you down from being a civilian into a part of a cog in a machine. That's what basic training's all about. Teach you to wear a uniform, do your buttons up, iron your clothes, shave every day, keep clean. Cleanliness is a big thing amongst army stuff. And you got a job in whatever else is happening there as well. So you had to work in the kitchens for 4 days. And clean that and make sure, and hygiene is just so important because you have so many people living together that if one person is not towing the line with hygiene, it can spread right through the whole army. So it's a severe penalty not to be clean and tidy yourself, and keep your firearm clean and tidy as well. We've been out and camped in a great big mountain about 20 miles from here, It is mostly rainforest with some jungle up in the mountains. We were camped on a ridge only 20 yards wide and 400 feet down both sides. It is a real haven for animals there because nobody's mad enough to go wandering up there except the army. The place is full of wombats and little hill wallabies, hundreds of possums. I had one possum crawl into my tent with me one night and caused a lot of excitement, ended up with a whole platoon stood to in their gun pits, thought we were being attacked by the enemy. The possum tore a hole out of my hoochie and it collapsed it on me in the end. We didn't do any real weaponry stuff until we got to the next stage, which is the infantry centre, where that was very intensive. And we became very good at it as well, I'd have to say. Although manual dexterity is pretty damn good when you're 20. But we could strip and assemble a machine gun blindfolded very easily. You could scatter the parts around on the ground and we'll go and find them and put it back together again in pretty short time. You had to pass a lot of tests for that. You load a firearm magazine, load in under 9 seconds, I think it was, or most of us could load one in 4 seconds to 5 seconds. So you got pretty damn good. And you had to do that with a mask on, blindfolded. You did a lot of that sort of stuff. Very intense. And that's what you did every day, so you become very good at it, as you'd expect with any sort of job. And that came to the fore when we got overseas. I can remember in one night in Coral that taking the magazine off and feeling it and thinking I'll put a new one on and then flipping the bullets out, what was left out of that, and reloading another one, so that I knew I had two in your right-hand side, empty one's left-hand side. You knew you had two, so I didn't think about that, I just did that. I wasn't thinking anything at all. We do patrols every day around this place. I'm the machine gunner for our section and have the heaviest gun to carry. But I've got fed up at first, and I do the first picket on again, so I get a good sleep. Except for the possums and the scorpions, which are fairly plentiful and grow about 1.5 inches long. We were last up here for the 24 hours patrol. All the country looks the same, and that thick that a compass is useless. The only way to walk is along the ridges to see anything, and so on. So that's all part of our training, and it was very, very intense, and we got very, very hard and fit to it. And in fact, I put on weight rather than losing weight.